Right, let's just so in this phase I won't be talking as much. I would just go on without talking, and what I'm basically doing is I'm keeping in my mind the posture, and I'm trying to find out a good posture and like a general pose for the character. So I'll be only focusing on my lines and how they flow, and try to find out different poses and just be free, actually just explore. I'll be doing a few sketches until I find something that I like. So that's what I usually do. I don't just do one and go with it, because I always try to explore, because there could always be a better pose or posture or design in general that can work better. So it's important to sort of create quick sketches and then find out what you like and go with it. So in this part I won't be talking pretty much at all, and I'll be just figuring out what our character looks like, what's the posture, and I'll be, if I like some kind of a posture, I would go in and add a few details, because I want to figure out whether they would actually work. So you don't have to be very vague about your sketches. You have to have some level of detail, because you can't draw something like this and say, oh, okay, that's enough, because this is not a sketch, this is a scribble. So sketch should be more refined. So once I do this, you'll realize that sometimes I will go into detail and then figure out the basic forms and figure out whether it's working for my character. So don't be afraid to detail your sketches, but don't think about details in the in early stages. So it's a balance that you have to kind of find. So right, I'll stop talking now and get on with drawing. So right here, I'll, I want to explain something now. This arm right here actually touches this line from her back. Now we call this tangents, right? And you don't want this in your drawings, right? Because you don't want lines to perfectly, like, it's in reality this arm is in front and her body is back, but when you have something like this where they're like faintly touching, feels like they're touching but they're not, so you have no idea whether this arm is forward or back because they're perfectly aligned. So you want to avoid that. What you can do is you can erase that part out. You can either set them apart like this, or you can make them overlap so there's a clear idea of what's in front. So you never want to have those tangents. So either it should clearly overlap or it should, be clearly separated. So for this purpose, I think separated would be a little bit better because of our general pose and everything. So I'll go with separated. So another important thing that I actually forgot to tell you about is line of action. Now, line of action is usually related with the pose. Now, for example, in this case, this one, you can see sort of a line going through the character. So usually that line indicates the main transition of weight of the character. Imagine a character who's punching. So I think this is even taught in boxing. Your punch begins in the earth, in your legs. So when you draw someone who's throwing a punch, the punch starts from his leg and sort of goes up the leg, sort of twists and just goes towards his target through the arm. So basically this is the line of action. So you have the guy's feet here and his shoulder there, and he's punching. Like this. So you can really feel the punch. It's not just, if the guy were to just like stand still like this and you do this, it doesn't feel like a punch. It's like this is just a man standing and just holding his arm forward. It's nothing more than this. Doesn't feel like a punch, but this do feel like a punch because there's a weight transfer here. So it's a line of action. So you can really exaggerate it by having the back arm here. So he's leaning into the punch. His weight is transferred towards his punch. So especially for dynamic characters, line of action is really important. Now, this is a basic pose. So she's not actually doing much of anything. She's just standing there. So this is like a line of action. So in more dynamic poses like this one, you can see this line going through her. Weight is pushed towards this leg right here. So she's leaning onto it. You can feel her leg pressing against this board. So that's basically what line of action does. It actually gives action to your poses. So it's important to know that before actually start sketching. So the purpose of this one is actually not to sort of figure out a pose. It's just to figure some details out first. The first stage to sort of define the character more. So for example, now her hair, her her clothing and stuff, this can change in later stages where it's you can figure out those things early and you can sort of work with those in your poses. Because for example now, her shorts right here, as you can see. So this is like the short is wrapping around her leg. So if I were to draw the other side of this, it would be something like this. So right there, you know that this thing is a cylinder. Same case here. So clothing lines actually help build up form. So even here, it sort of wraps around her, so we know that she has this cylindrical body instead of just a line. So the sock here, so we know it's a cylinder. So these things are really important to know when you're sketching. So it's not just about just scribbling lines. It's about understanding these basics and using them to your advantage, using them to communicate things in a better way. So if I were to add a glove, I could show that her arm is actually a cylinder instead of looking like two lines, right? So yeah, those kinds of things really matter in here. We know that this shape is in your head, you complete the rest. So you don't have to actually do the whole thing, just this part, okay, this looks like a cylinder. So she has a 3D shape, it's not just lines. We're working with lines, but we're using these kinds of things to our advantage, show form and perspective, right?